and to give strength and spirit and continuity to our government and to our national life.
Who's the president that has revived the U.S. economy, revived the U.S. market, and overall revived the U.S. as a whole? This is the story of FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, in the first 100 days of his presidency. Roosevelt took office in 1933, well after the Great Depression had started. If you don't know what the Great Depression is, it was a huge economic downfall for the U.S. starting in 1928 that affected almost every single job, affected food income, and collapsed banks. Roosevelt was set out to stop the spreading depression and revive America to its former glory. Because of this goal and the execution of it, Roosevelt is known as the most effective president during the first 100 days of presidency. During the first 100 days, Roosevelt faced banks shutting down. People keeping money in banks were losing it all, which resulted in businesses losing the money to stay open, and an all-time high unemployment rate of nearly 25% of Americans. That's a lot. It was a horrible situation. All of this meant Roosevelt came to power at a very needed time. The U.S. needed Roosevelt. After being elected, Roosevelt immediately called Congress into a special session, and it stayed this way for over 3 months. Because of the present catastrophe, both the Republicans and the Democrats were actually working together. Roosevelt was able to pass 15 major bills in his first 100 days of presidency. These bills were the Emergency Banking Act, which allowed banks to issue some additional money on goods, so if banks reopened, they would be able to stay open. The Cullen-Harrison Act, which allowed beer with an alcohol content of 3.2% or lower to be sold as it was thought too low to intoxicate. The Economy Act of 1933, which was supposed to cut the federal budget by $500 million, but it only ended up cutting it by $243 million. This was placed as a deflationary act because the government bought less goods and services overall. The Civilian Conservation Corps, which was a work relief program from 1933 to 1942 that allowed people to get manual labor jobs developing and conserving federal, state, and local government lands. Federal Emergency Relief Administration, which provided loans to U.S. states to run work relief programs. The Agriculture Adjustment Act, which was made to boost the agriculture industries by ways of the government buying livestock and paying farmers subsidies to not plant on parts of their land. The Emergency Farm Mortgage Act, which regulated financial corporations that provide credit to farmers. The Tennessee Valley Authority, which covers all of Tennessee and portions of most southern U.S. states. Its original purpose was to provide navigation, electricity generation, regional planning, food control, fertilizer manufacturing, and economic development to the struggling Tennessee Valley. The Securities Act of 1933, which required every sale or potential offer of securities, which was finance, that uses the means of interstate commerce to be registered with the SEC pursuant of the 1933 Act, unless they had a specific exemption. This was to make sure buyers had complete and accurate info about what they were buying before fully investing in it, because you didn't want to lose your money, especially at that time. The Homeowners Refinancing Act, which helped provide mortgage assistance to those in danger of losing their homes. The 1933 Banking Act, which regulated investing in insurance and banks. The Farm Credit Act of 1933, which established the FCS that helps lend short and long-term loans to agricultural businesses. The Emergency Railroad Transportation Act, which was created to relieve the existing national emergency in relation to railroad transportation. Abrogation of gold clauses in public and private contracts. As a part of the New Deal program to conserve gold reserves during the economic emergency of the Great Depression, Congress in 1933 abrogated the clauses in private and public contracts stipulating payment in gold. Lastly, the National Industrial Recovery Act, which was a labor and consumer law designed to allow the president to regulate industry for fair wages and prices that would hopefully in turn stimulate economic recovery. That's the story of the first 100 days of FDR's presidency.